Alrighty, guys. Welcome into the stream. Give me just 1 second here. I'm trying to get a couple things fixed here. What is up, Shay? What is up, Bill? What is up, Broken Halo? What is up, guys? How is everyone? Okie dokie. All right, guys, what is up? We've got a lot to talk about, guys. We're going to do a deep breakdown into this week's severe weather setup. I wanted to get on here and do this update now because I'm going to be a little bit busy later on tonight. I might do another update for you guys late tonight, but I was like, why not get on here and do an update this afternoon? I don't have too much going on, so hope you guys are all doing well. This is probably honestly the first live stream I've actually had in quite some time here, so took the last couple of days off, was racing on Saturday, had Mother's Day yesterday, so I hope you guys are all doing well out there. And like I said, we've got some pretty significant severe weather to kind of talk about that's going to be happening at the end of this week. You guys can see this monster low pressure system ongoing here, back down here into the southeast here in portions of the mid-Atlantic. This is going to be due to a cutoff low that's basically been sitting here. It's not been moving. It's not going anywhere. Yeah, it's sitting there. Lots of rain, lots of thunderstorms ongoing here, some heavy rain across the Carolinas. Nothing too crazy in terms of storm reports that I've seen so far right now. Yeah, Florida's definitely getting some rain and some wind right now. They're getting a couple lines of some thunderstorms down there as well. But very, very isolated risk for severe weather today. Back down here into Tennessee, the Carolinas, Georgia, back down into Florida. Very low end tornado risk, damaging wind threat, and hail threat today. I really don't honestly think too much is going to happen with these cells today, but you can kind of see a gap in the activity here in Kentucky, into Tennessee, back down here as well into northern Mississippi and Alabama. But we should start to see storms fire off in these areas, as you're already seeing with daytime thunderstorm activity. So hopefully we might get a couple storms out there today. That'd be actually generally nice to watch and see happen. So yeah, guys, we're gonna break down the next really more Thursday and Friday and Saturday, kind of talk about what's gonna happen at the end of this week, talk about what's gonna happen towards the end of the month of May here as we close things out and get ready for really summer to be here. And it really, honestly, guys, the pattern looks like it's gonna be like it was the beginning of April, and really at the end of March, where we're going to see a pretty increasing trend in troughing. I am watching for the threat for a significant severe weather outbreak both on Thursday and on Friday. Saturday and Sunday, there will be some severe weather as well. And then we get into Sunday and Monday of the end of this week and into next week. And we could be looking at a full-blown potential tornado outbreak, maybe even going into the Midwest and the Ohio Valley for next week's setup. So that's a whole different system that's going to be coming through. But I'm going to kind of try to break this down as best as I can for you guys in terms of not so, what's the word I'm trying to think of here, in terms of not from a meteorological perspective, but from an outsider view perspective here. So let me switch over here. We'll come back to this radar loop here in just a second. Let me get this pulled up. Bear with me, guys, for just a second here. We'll talk about SPC. We'll kind of talk about all the fine details in between here. I'll answer questions in terms of locations and all of that, guys, here once I get through my main kind of spiel. So we'll get through that here. So we do have, like I said, 2 marginal risk zones for today. This is the latest Storm Prediction Center update. This is actually going to update here in about 40-ish minutes. Again, I don't think any big changes will happen. We do have a little low-end marginal risk for severe weather back up here in the portions of Montana and northwestern portions of North Dakota. So wind and a hail threat, maybe a brief tornado up there. I don't expect too much with that threat up there today. We've got a low-end marginal risk, basically covers all of Florida, back down here into the Carolinas, up into Georgia, eastern portions of Alabama here, and back down into Tennessee. I honestly thought yesterday, the way the trends were going for this afternoon, that we were going to see that marginal risk get pulled up a little bit, but we never did. We'll look at trends on those model runs here again in just a second as well. Let me actually take a look at this real quick and see if our 18Z is coming in for this afternoon. Let's go. Let's zoom in here. I'm just curious on a couple things. Let's see. Temperatures are gonna be definitely warm. As expected. That low is just sitting over the Ohio Valley right now. It's not moving. Dew points currently. This is some really. It's gross outside, guys. If you're stepping outside and you're in the Ohio Valley today, it's gross. These dew points are pretty nasty. Mid to upper 60s today, so it definitely feels humid. It definitely feels gross. Those temperatures will continue to climb for the next couple of days. Let's take a look at reflectivity here and see what we've got going on. Yeah, we'll have some showers and some thunderstorms developing in and around the Tennessee-Kentucky line later on this evening. Could get a couple little splotches of some hail in there. So, yeah, I don't expect too much with today. Today will be a very, very low end day for severe weather. So that's what I was saying. There's today's forecast: 2% tornado risk, wind threat, and hail threat. We get to tomorrow's risk, and we don't have anything. I think this will change probably once tomorrow gets here. You can see a pretty broad general thunderstorm risk in both areas. You guys can honestly kind of see the pattern trend that we're seeing kind of through this period here. We've got a high pressure system that's going to be kind of set here over the plains through about tomorrow and into Tuesday. Or not tomorrow, but Tuesday and into Wednesday. And then once Wednesday gets here, we'll have a trough ejection off the plains here, which is going to allow for some conditional threat for some severe weather up into the high plains. So not anything too crazy for tomorrow. Like I said, if we get anything marginal for tomorrow, I think it would be along the East Coast. We'll just kind of see how SPC does its thing here. We get to the day 3 outlook, and this is going to be for your Wednesday. So this is an interesting day, and I'm going to kind of talk about Wednesday here for a second. We'll look at the models here in a second on Wednesday as well. We do have a marginal risk for severe weather back down here into North Dakota, South Dakota, western Minnesota, western Iowa here. I do expect the threat for all hazards here if storms can initiate. The problem is going to be there's going to be a capping inversion. That's basically a temperature inversion aloft in the atmosphere that allows for storms to really not initiate. And if that capping inversion cannot be overcome, we won't have storms fire off. And so, we'll have to see once short range models get a little bit closer to this. I think the 18Z, what is it going to do? Did the 12Z go to, let's see here. I'm going to check for a second. Okay, so 12Z goes to Wednesday. So we will, the 18Z that's running right now should start to kind of show us what up here is going to look like on Wednesday afternoon. Let's see if NAM3K. Yeah, so the NAM3K actually does have a little bit of convection. There is going to be a cap, but we could see a corridor of some stronger supercells back up in here on Wednesday afternoon. It's going to be around between 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. I think is kind of that time frame here. We'll have to watch for the Dakotas back up here as well into portions of northern Nebraska maybe. Let's look at instability. Let's go mixed layer Cape and see what we've got here. Yeah, I saw what Reed said. It's very, I'll talk about that here in a second and kind of give my emphasis on that as well. We'll get to Thursday and Friday here in just a second. I'm just kind of walking through each day here, guys. So just kind of bear with me. Wednesday afternoon, instabilities, let's see here. Yeah, we'll have a pretty decent amount of instability up here along the low pressure system. The problem is going to be is our main forcing is going to be a little bit late. So we're going to have to see if this in fact does develop or not on Thursday or on Wednesday afternoon here. I think our tornado parameters as well are pretty low up here with this low pressure system. Yeah, pretty low. The tornado parameters are going to be further back down to the south in Kansas and Oklahoma and Texas where our shear is actually at. Let's take a look at our 500 millibar and see what we've got here with this as well. Play this out. Yeah, so you've got, this is really interesting too. So you've got your Vortmax sitting over here along the eastern side of Montana. You've got a pretty decent, north to south flow here with your mid-level winds. But I think the problem also is going to be your mid-level winds and your low-level winds are also kind of in the same direction here. And that's going to, allow, your timing is just not the best. Yeah, the timing for this is not the best. So we'll see how this unfolds as we get closer to Wednesday. We may cover Wednesday. We'll just kind of, like I said, see what happens with it. Dew points will definitely also be not an issue at all. So we'll keep you guys updated on that. Now, the thing with Wednesday as well, right? So you're going to see, I'm going to show you guys here in a second. We're going to have all this instability. We'll have tornado parameters set up. The reason why there's not a risk zone down here in Oklahoma and in Kansas and in Missouri and Arkansas for Wednesday afternoon, and I'll show you why here in a second, is going to be to a very strong capping inversion. We're going to have this trough moving through. Typically, you would want to see this trough ejecting on the morning of a severe weather event. The fact that this is ejecting over the Rockies and through the plains through the evening as the severe weather threat tries to develop is allowing for convection to be capped. And so we may not see, you know, if any storms as we get closer to Wednesday afternoon happening start to trend up and we start to see convection develop in Oklahoma and in eastern Kansas, we could see the potential for some severe weather here, maybe in these areas. Babe, your TV is so loud, by the way. If you can hear the stream, I don't know if you can or not. Yeah, we'll see what happens here. I'm not too concerned about Oklahoma and Kansas as of right now on Wednesday. You guys are not even in the general thunderstorm risk. We'll just kind of see how things kind of go from there. Let me see. Hold on, guys. Give me 2.5 seconds. All right, sorry guys. I had to get our oldest one in his room. Okay, as I was saying here a second ago, going into Wednesday afternoon, let's talk about Kansas and Oklahoma and northern Texas here, because I've seen a lot of people on social media kind of mention the potential for some severe weather on Wednesday evening into Thursday morning. Taylor, what's up? Good to see you in here. Long time no see. Hope you are doing well. But yeah, let's talk eastern Kansas, eastern Oklahoma. So let's go to our dew points here for Wednesday evening. I think the NAM goes that far. Yeah. So we are going to have really decent moisture return. The problem, like I said, is going to be, and I'll show you guys this here in a second, is going to be our trough is ejecting late. And that's very, very key to allowing severe weather to initiate. The northern mode, we're going to have an upper level low up here that's going to basically be moving in. We're going to have just shear placed across the plains going into Wednesday night and into Thursday morning. This technically in all theory should allow for severe weather to happen. We're going to have a capping inversion. There's going to be a very strong capping inversion that's really going to probably limit any type of convection that we see across Kansas, across Oklahoma. Now, that's not 100% certain. As we get closer and these models start to pick up on things, once our HER model gets in range, once all of our impasse models get in range, we should start to see something potentially set up. That won't probably be until later on tonight. We'll probably have a better idea of this tomorrow morning when I make my video for you guys. So just something to be mindful of. But dew point return is not an issue. We have dew points pushing the upper 70s. So moisture return, not an issue. We can check that off the bucket list. Instability is not going to be an issue as well. We will have plentiful instability values, guys. We are probably going to see some of the highest energy values out of the atmosphere that we've seen all year so far, going into this week and going into next week. So just something, like I said, to be very, very mindful of in terms of that the higher the instability, that doesn't mean the higher the severe weather threat. It just means there's a lot of instability there. There's a lot of energy that the atmosphere can use. So you're going to see that instability going into Wednesday afternoon here. I mean, it's guys, if we were to get anything that develops in this atmospheric setup on Wednesday night, we would be looking at all hazards. I mean, this is what I call a volatile atmospheric setup right here. When you've got instability values pushing 5,000 plus joules per kilogram, that's insane. The good thing is there will be a capping inversion, like I said. So the storms will probably not initiate in this environment. And if we go and we look at the tornado parameters compared to the northern mode, compared to the southern mode, where that shear is going to be at, I mean, you've got maxed out tornado parameters in northeast Oklahoma and eastern Kansas. But like I said, these parameter values do not mean anything unless storms can initiate in those parameter spaces. We've seen so many times that the plains have had these, volatile setups and nothing happens because storms don't initiate. So just because you probably will see these ideas or these maps floating around on social media, because there's some people out there that will not explain this. They'll just throw a picture up there and say, oh, this is the parameters, and then it leaves people hanging. The reason why this matters and does not matter is because we may not see storms or we may see storms. If we see storms on model runs that start to trend with this, or at least we get the idea that there could be initiation, we'll start to get a little bit concerned about this area. Therefore, a risk zone would be issued. But like I said, there is no general thunderstorm risk and there is no risk for severe weather at all forecasted for this area Wednesday night. It's going to be strictly up north around our surface low, up into the Dakotas and up into northern Nebraska on Wednesday night. So you guys can see, like I said, you gotta understand meteorology. People that are out there, teaching meteorology, they need to know what they're talking about before they try to tell people things that are not true. So I've seen that a lot already going into this week with some posts on social media. So just be mindful of who you guys watch and who you guys pay attention to in terms of the weather forecasting. So that is actually, believe it or not, they just updated this forecast and they just threw a slight risk in there. So as I mentioned, upgraded risk zone now for Wednesday. So we will go live for this event on Wednesday now. That just basically verified everything I just said. I was waiting for the day 3 forecast to come out. They just went ahead and updated it early. So now instead of a marginal risk, we have a slight risk up here into Nebraska and North Dakota and South Dakota. So that is going to be for 15% probabilities and 5% probabilities here on Wednesday. So that is the newest outlook that just came in here. I'm going to read this and see what they say. See if we've got anything interesting around this. Yeah, so it's a damaging wind and a hail threat. Not really looking at too much of a tornado risk for Nebraska, North Dakota, South Dakota, and western Iowa and western Minnesota. So it looks like western Minnesota, western Iowa, your threat will be through midnight to 6 a.m. on Thursday morning, but it does not look very tornado favorable for you guys right now. So that is the updated risk zone for Wednesday night into, or Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday night into early Thursday morning. So if you're in that dark or that yellow shaded area there, the threat for severe weather has gone up just a little bit now with that update here to it. 2 o'clock this afternoon. So we'll keep you guys updated on that. Now we get to the big days. Let's talk about this, okay? We've seen this risk zone in place for about 2 days now. The Storm Prediction Center had issued this slight risk about, what was it? It was on, what's today? Today's Monday. So they had issued this risk zone originally on Saturday morning. So we originally were looking at more of a smaller confined risk zone. This has expanded in size. This has moved south, it's moved east. We now have western Ohio in this risk on Thursday. We have pretty much almost all of Michigan. We have pretty much mostly all of central and southern Wisconsin, far extreme eastern Minnesota, eastern Iowa here, Illinois, pretty much the whole damn state of Indiana, and we have northwestern Kentucky, and now eastern Missouri, northwestern Tennessee, and far, far, far extreme eastern Arkansas, probably including the Jonesboro area there. So this is going to be a very, very complex and interesting day on Thursday, guys. So kind of listen up here. We still don't have our short-range models quite yet in range. Those will come available for us tomorrow night. So when we're doing our stream tomorrow night, we'll have a lot more details for this event on Thursday. But this is going to be an all-hazard severe weather event, meaning tornadoes, damaging winds, and large hail. I think the further south you go with this risk zone currently, with the way that things are projecting, it looks like the northern mode up here near where our surface low is going to be at, this is where I think we have higher tornado probabilities. And that's going to be, you get your southwesterly winds around your vortex, your low pressure system up in the high plains there, you're going to get stronger shear, you're going to get stronger tornado potential. So this is the area that I would be watching for higher tornado potential. Back down here into southern Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, and into western Ohio. I also actually, let me mention this as well. I do want to watch this middle area here. So central Illinois, central Indiana, and western Ohio would have also a better overnight shot at seeing a couple of tornadoes, maybe even a couple strong tornadoes potentially. But then we get down here into the southern mode, so Kentucky, Illinois, Indiana. There is going to be a capping inversion. The further south you go away from the low pressure system, because you have less forcing. The closer you are to your low, the more forcing you have for storms to initiate in. So basically what I'm saying is, if you're in a risk zone on Thursday, be prepared. There are going to be upgrades with this. I expect an enhanced risk to be issued either tonight or within the next 48 hours. That'll probably be up here into portions of Illinois, Indiana, and back down into Wisconsin. That higher mode will be placed to the north. I would not be shocked to see a 10% hatch tornado risk by the time this gets updated going through tonight and into the next 2 days here. So we're really only 3 days out from this event. So like I said, the closer we get to this, the better shot we have of seeing, or the better information we'll get here for you guys. So don't sleep on the southern mode. I do think Kentucky, Illinois, Indiana, the southern portions down here will be more of a damaging wind and a hail threat. This up here, we're going to have to watch for a strong tornado threat, damaging wind threat, and a large hail threat. We are going to have some of the highest instability values we have seen all year long in the Ohio Valley in the Midwest. What that means is a very volatile environment with a shear overlapped environment. You're going to have very favorable dew points. We're going to be pushing dew points in the upper 70s in this area. There will be the threat for a couple of strong tornadoes, some significant damaging winds, and some very large hail. I think the wind and the hail will ultimately outdo the threat on Thursday, at least as of right now. Will Chicago see tornadoes? There is a chance. There is a chance. We don't know those actual percentages yet, guys, so I can't go into fine details on percentages yet because they don't get issued till Wednesday. But as of right now, if you were in this slight risk on Thursday, there is a chance for all modes of severe weather, damaging winds, large hail, and a couple of tornadoes, and a couple of strong tornadoes could also be at play. That's just kind of given what I'm seeing with some of the models. We get to Friday. Friday is a little bit interesting as well. Very, very small risk on Friday. Western and central Kentucky, western and central Tennessee, southeast portions of Missouri, and northeastern portions of Arkansas. A little baby slight risk here. This got updated last night. I'm going to tell you guys right now, there probably will be a marginal risk up here into the northeast and the mid-Atlantic at the level 1 risk out of 5. So that dark green shade that you see, they don't issue those until we get within 3 days of an outlook happening or of a severe weather event happening. So I do think that there will be a lot bigger of a risk zone coverage going into Friday. We're going to have lots of instability. We'll have lots of moisture. This is a very, very tricky forecast. These risk zones that they issue more than 3 days out typically only cover the areas that we could see significant severe weather. So that's why they highlight those. We'll get those low-end colors once we get closer to the event happening. So basically, in an overall scheme of things, if you want to know where I think severe weather is going to be possible between basically now and going into next Sunday, we're going to clearly be looking at, let's just do this right here. Let's do this. This would be kind of the area. This is a little bit off too. The further west you go, the more conditional. I would say more significant severe weather would clearly be, this area kind of like right up in here. Let's just do that. This will be the areas that I think more significant severe weather would be going into, like Thursday, Friday. And then if we really want to get more specific in terms of I think where there an outbreak potentially could happen at, we're going to be looking probably more in terms of the Illinois, Indiana, southern central Wisconsin, and western Michigan and western Ohio areas going into Thursday and Friday. So that's where I think we'll see kind of more of an uptrend at. I do think an enhanced risk will definitely be issued tonight, if not by tomorrow, into the next night there. So within the next 2 days here, we should have a level 3 enhanced risk at play. I mean, the models, some of the guidance here, I'll just show you guys this. The CSU models going into this event here, it looks quite interesting as well. So here's the day 3 outlook, I believe, from... yeah, they do have a 2%. So this is interesting. This is actually really interesting. CSU has gone 2% down this whole risk here, or down the whole way through Oklahoma. So they actually might have convection initiating. We might just be seeing this a little bit later on some of the models. So this will be interesting to watch on Wednesday. Is the tornado threat gone for today? No, there's a tornado risk, an isolated tornado risk for the southeast today. No, so there's a combination. What causes storms to initiate? Decent dew points, anything above 55 along a dry line. It's instability, it's dew points, and it's shear. That gets severe weather to happen. Storms can initiate off of anything, really. As long as you've got a little bit of energy in the atmosphere or some type of forcing mechanism, you can get storms. But this is more in terms of like a cold front happening or a dry line setup or anything like that. This is what's really interesting. So CSU, so here's the Storm Prediction Center's outlook. This is what's actually legit gonna, what's issued by SPC. This is CSU, and CSU has that slight risk kind of going all the way all over the place here. They already have an enhanced risk, and they actually almost have a moderate risk in central Indiana on Thursday. So I think Thursday has a very high ceiling, very low floor, meaning if it caps out and nothing happens, then we get nothing. If we have everything come together on Thursday night, we could be looking at a severe weather outbreak, maybe even a small regional tornado outbreak across the Ohio Valley. It's just kind of my thoughts right now on Thursday. I don't really see the further, like I said, the further north you go to your low, the better shot you have of seeing a couple tornadoes, maybe even a couple 10-10 tornadoes. But the further south you go, it turns into more of like that severe weather outbreak, damaging wind, large hail event potentially. So there's still a lot of things to be figured out with this event on Thursday and on Friday. And like I said, tomorrow will be a big eye opener in terms of what the short range models are thinking, what our impasse models are thinking. We're still in that, more than 72-hour period of where these storms are actually, going to potentially be at. That's kind of what I'm getting at. So we're just kind of talking. We're just trying to get you guys ready to go. I will say, if you were in a risk zone on Thursday or Friday, you need to have alerts on your phones. You need to have NOAA weather radio set up. If you have them, this is going to be a Thursday afternoon portion to an overnight event. We are going to have storms Thursday afternoon through Thursday night into Friday morning, and then again on Friday, and then probably again on Saturday. I think a risk zone will also be issued on Saturday as well once we get closer to that event, but there's still a little bit more determination to be figured out on that. CSU's day 5, I mean, you can see the space here. So this is the Storm Prediction Center's outlook for for Friday. This is CSU's outlook for Friday. So you can see, I think we're going to expand this risk zone pretty significantly. It may not be to the exact terms of what Colorado State is thinking, but what I'm getting at is the area of severe weather coverage on Friday is pretty significant. I think Friday's a little bit different than Thursday. Thursday, you're going to have an actual low, a surface low developing. We're going to have just bulk shear west easterly winds across the Ohio Valley, the mid-Atlantic on Friday, which is going to give us more of an MCS damaging wind hail setup. I don't think we're going to have too much of a tornado risk as of right now on Friday. It'd be more confined to Thursday. So, like I said, just a lot of things to figure out. And really, guys, we're not done after that. We're not done at all after that. We go to the day 6 outlook. We have another shot at seeing some severe weather. This is Colorado State University's risk zone outlook. SPC doesn't have anything yet. They don't do this what CSU does, but CSU has been pretty dagin spot on with these risk zones this year. So just something to kind of take note of. It doesn't happen all the time, but what I'm getting at is there's going to be the threat. This is a signal for severe weather is what I'm getting at. And then we go into the day 7 outlook, and this is where we start to see next weekend's system come into play, where we're going to have another trough coming in on Sunday and Monday, where we're going to have the threat for severe weather. Again, Oklahoma, Kansas, you guys are going to get into this at the end of the week, going in towards next week, and then we get the day 8 outlook, and then we get, again, the same areas. So if you're in Oklahoma, Texas, and you're like, I want to see storms, why am I not getting storms? Wait until next Sunday and Monday get here. You're going to have a better shot at seeing maybe even potentially an outbreak happening, which is not what I want to have happen, but you guys can get what I'm getting at. So very, very favorable pattern for severe weather that basically starts on Wednesday and goes for the rest of the month of May. Ohio, you guys are going to be an overnight event. You guys are going to be an overnight event on Thursday night. So really this area right in here is going to be my concern for overnight tornadoes, damaging winds, and large hail. We will be doing live severe weather coverage. I'm also in this risk zone with you guys here in Kentucky. Me and Rochelle are both in this, so prohibiting we don't have to get off stream or anything for tornado warnings here. We'll be on covering from start to finish on Thursday and on Friday. So that is my game plan for you guys as well. So there is no, guys, we don't have a time threat for these yet for today's storms. Jess, if you're down in the southeast for today's storms, anytime. They're pop-up storms, so I can't really give you a time other than between now and sunset happening. So just be mindful, conditional tornado risk down there, damaging winds, and some hail possible. But that's kind of my overnight area there. And then we get into, the models and all of that. And we can talk about the geometry of our troughing. We can just kind of talk about everything in general here. And our atmosphere, once again, is going to be very, very favorable for severe weather going into the end of this week here. We'll just kind of talk about our troughing here. I'll go with the Euro, and then I'll talk about the GFS. We'll kind of compare both models and kind of see what we're looking at here with this as well. And I believe... yes, this is our latest European model here. So you guys can see what's been causing all of this disgusting, messy storm coverage back down here into the southeast. It's just cut off low. That's not been moving. It's just been sitting here. And it continues to pull in moisture around it, pull in moisture to the south of it. It kind of looks like a tropical system, but it's not. It's got some type of tropical characteristics and a sense to it, but not really. So today, severe weather threat should be the last day of significant severe weather, or not significant, but low and severe weather that we see in the southeast. That trough finally moves out on Wednesday morning, and then we see the big picture set up for Thursday and Friday. So once again, we're going to have a pretty decent amount of shear that's going to be ejecting across the plains here going into Wednesday and Thursday. This is where we have to watch for Wednesday's setup. You can see where your upper level low is set up here off of Montana and Wyoming. Gives us a pretty decent amount of shear. As I mentioned earlier, the reason why there's not a severe weather risk zone for portions of Kansas and Oklahoma and Missouri as of right now is because there's no shear displaced out in this area. This trough, the southern trough mode, is the subtropical jet stream connection that is attached to this jet that's allowing for severe weather up here in the Dakotas and into Nebraska. It's well behind. It's not as progressive as the northern mode is. Therefore, you're going to get severe weather overlapped with your shear compared to down south. You're not going to see severe weather down here because there is no shear to allow storm updraft rotation to happen. So that is another area on why we're not seeing storms down there yet. But as we go through Wednesday night, if the timing of this trough picks up a little bit, or if we, some different things change in the environment, we could get a late evening, overnight couple of storms develop across the plains here as that trough officially ejects. So that's something we do need to watch for going into Wednesday night and into Thursday morning. I wouldn't see this not being a potential, but as of right now, I'm not quite there, in terms of confidence with that yet. So, yes, Danny, we'll have Indiana circled. Yes. I'll get back to that here in just a second for you guys here in a minute. But yeah, and then I want you guys to watch this. This is what's so interesting about this system on Thursday. This is by no means like a high risk or moderate risk day caliber system. At least as of right now, it's not. This is not that great of an impressive looking trough. I will say this trough compared to the last 2 or 3 events we've had is probably pretty far off from what we've had. It is a pretty decent amount of wind shear, but the problem is also going to be is this jet stream is riding over top of a ridge. And when you get these ridge riding storms, they don't set up too well. There's always going to be some type of defect with this system that comes through. And so we're not going to see this massive widespread tornado outbreak or any of that. I want you guys to understand that now, but we could see something regional if things come together. You do have a strong negatively tilted trough here. You can kind of see a jet speed max here in the middle here, allowing for your stronger winds in the mid levels of the atmosphere to advance eastward. That can allow for more of a damaging wind threat, maybe an isolated conditional strong tornado risk there. But as we go through Thursday afternoon, this is where things start to get a little bit more interesting. We're going to have that low going very, very full negative tilt. This is my area of concern right there on Thursday afternoon. I think this is where the highest threat for tornadoes is going to be central and southern Wisconsin, far extreme eastern Iowa, right along that jet stream. And then we're going to have a little bit of divergence. It's going to be split off here between southern Illinois and northern Illinois, basically where you have a lack in forcing. And that's what's going to allow for a little bit stronger of a capping inversion. So if storms can break a capping environment in Illinois and Indiana on Thursday evening and Thursday night, we could have a couple of tornadoes moving across the states, some damaging winds and some large hail. Now back down here into that southern mode, you're going to have a little bit of a late arrival and advancement of that shear coming into Thursday evening and Friday morning. Therefore, overnight storms, severe weather will be possible, more of a damaging wind and a hail threat with a conditional probably tornado risk at play for Kentucky, southern Illinois, eastern Missouri, northwestern Tennessee, and southern Indiana between probably about 9 p.m. and about 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning on Friday. So like I said, timing, guys, I'm just kind of spitting out things right now just based off of the timing of our troughing. And so we'll get into more of the timing when the actual, realistic composite models actually come into play and we get an idea of what we're going to see with this. So 2 different modes. If you're up in Wisconsin, if you're up in northern Illinois, Indiana, across the Great Lakes here, that's my area of concern. That's where I would be thinking, all right, here we go. We might actually get something decent out of this. And then going through the overnight hours, your jet stream really gets advanced here, and you're talking really anything's at play after midnight, I think, going through the overnight hours there. And then as we go towards Friday, this is where Friday's risk zone is a little bit more complicated in terms of kind of figuring out where, the higher severe weather threat's going to be. We're going to stop it right at, let's go peak heating on Friday afternoon here. So we'll stop it right here. You do have a very strong upper level low, so this would give us a better favorable environment, I would think, for tornadoes somewhere up here into maybe southern Michigan, northern Indiana, northern Ohio. We might also even have a better shot at some damaging winds. I think a strong damaging wind threat will definitely be at play across western Kentucky, southern Illinois, eastern Missouri, northern Arkansas on Friday. So if you're in Kentucky, if you're in Illinois, if you're in Missouri, and you're like, all right, I got storms on Thursday, are we done after that? No, you're going to have another round of storms on Friday, another round of storms on Saturday, and that's going to be due to this boundary that's just going to be kind of stuck in place. It's going to allow for instability, our dew points. Like we're talking some of the highest favorable parameters we've seen so far this year in terms of instability and in dew points. So that allows for multiple days of severe weather. You're not just going to get a one and done event. It's going to be multiple rounds. So the severe weather coverage is probably going to expand pretty significantly going into Friday and then eventually into Saturday. So Friday, what I do notice though, out of anything that, at least a positive thing, I should say, the tornado risk ultimately compared from Thursday to Friday should be lower. Thursday will probably be our big day out of this whole week in terms of tornado potential. And that's just due to the troughing. You want to see more southwesterly flow for tornado potential to happen, but what we're getting with this event on Friday and Saturday is what we call more zonal flow, and that allows for more MCS type complexes to develop. You get those Boeing line segments that produce the damaging wind, the large hail, a couple of brief tornadoes potentially in there. So I think Friday and Saturday will be mostly damaging wind events. A lot of people will see the wind, they'll see the heavy rain, they'll see some hail, and then we get this system out of here on Saturday afternoon and into Sunday. And then I want you guys to watch the left side of your screen here. There's going to be 2 pieces of energy going in toward the end of the weekend. So we're not just done after Wednesday. We're not done after Thursday. We're not done after Friday or Saturday. We've got another system. It is the end of May, guys. It is peak tornado season. This kind of stuff happens. So if you're like, oh gosh, I got to do this all over again. Yeah, you're going to have to do this all over again. We're going to have 2 different pieces of energy that are going to be moving in here off as we go into Sunday. So this little disturbance that's coming off the plains going into the Monday or Sunday afternoon into Monday, I do want to watch just a little bit of an impingement on our jet stream here. This could allow for some type of severe weather threat to develop in Oklahoma and Texas and southern Kansas on Sunday evening. This is something that I am watching right now. SPC's kind of mentioned it briefly, not too full on yet, but there will be some type of severe weather threat. This is going to be our main event for Monday and Tuesday. This is going to be like a little pre-event before. So if you're in Oklahoma, if you're in Kansas, if you're in Texas, be watching this going into what's the word here I'm trying to think of, going into the evening to late overnight hours here, we could see a little mediocre severe weather threat setup. I would also not be shocked to see a damaging wind event risk zone up here into the eastern portions of the Ohio Valley, going into as well into the northeast on Sunday. You get a northwesterly flow, you're going to get the threat for some damaging wind that happens pretty much every single time. So if we've got any instability left in that area, we could see some severe weather on Sunday. But then I want you guys to watch this. Ready? Here we go. This is probably going to be one of the most impressive jet streams we've seen in a little bit of time here going over the Rockies. And this is going to support a pretty decent shot at some significant severe weather. If this does continue to trend, both the European and the GFS model have this run. If this continues to trend going into the 19th and the 20th and the 21st and the 22nd and the 23rd of May, granted, we're still about 7 to 9 days out, so things can change, and they probably will change a little bit. But if we do get something like this that sets up, this could be a tornado outbreak. And I don't like to talk about using that wording unless we're, pretty, slam dunk certain on something happening. But this could be a pretty significant event, I think, than what we're getting this week going into the third week of May. This would be pretty big with the way that this troughing pattern looks at. You've got a pretty decent little jet streak max in there that's going to allow for some stronger tornado potential potentially. This would be next Tuesday. Technically, you would have Monday and then Tuesday and then Wednesday in the Ohio Valley, the Midwest, and then after that, we get more of what we call a zonal jet stream, and then after this, things become a little bit more uncertain in terms of what's going to happen with that, but definitely watching next Monday and next Tuesday for the potential for maybe even a type of tornado outbreak ejecting across the Midwest and the southern plains there and central plains, so something to take note of. Another thing as well, we typically like to see a pretty decent amount of shear in our low levels of our atmosphere to give us some type of tornado potential. And so as we go into Wednesday, not a lot of shear. You can see that mostly displaced down here over the area where we're not going to see too much convection. We get into Thursday, and I want to talk about this right here. Higher tornado threat always transitions with your closer to your low, where you've got your low level based rotation at. And so that's going to be Thursday evening. Here we go. You've got your low across Minnesota. You're probably going to have some pressuritis if you're in central and southern Minnesota. I don't expect a lot of storms to be in that area. It's going to be the east of you guys. But right in this area right here where you have your winds kind of going all different directions here in the lower levels of the atmosphere, right around 3 to 8 p.m. on Thursday evening is where I think that higher shot of seeing a couple of strong tornadoes. Chicago would be in that, southern and central Wisconsin, northern Illinois, northern Indiana, western Michigan, eastern Iowa. Like I said, those details will get confined as we get closer to this event, but this is what I'm concerned about. And you do have a little bit of a lag in your low-level jet back down here into the southern mode, but I do think that damaging winds still in large hail will definitely be a big possibility going down through Kentucky, Illinois, and Indiana through the overnight hours there. So just something to kind of watch there as we go through Thursday's event. And then, as I mentioned, Friday, really not looking at any directional shear. It's going to be the same area, and we could see mostly damaging winds on Friday and on Saturday. So I think our big tornado threat day this week will be Thursday across Wisconsin, northern Illinois, northern Indiana, western and central Ohio, going through the overnight hours. So if you're in Indiana, if you're in Ohio, your storms will probably not be until after 9 p.m. going through 3, 4 o'clock in the morning on Friday morning. So overnight Thursday into Friday, with the way that things are transitioning right now, that definitely looks like it's going to be possible, but you're not going to be done after that because we'll probably have more severe storms again on Friday and on Saturday. Another thing that I will mention, like I said, I'm not too concerned about a tornado risk on Friday or Saturday. I think that's going to be pretty much almost at zero. Probably a couple 2% risk zones get issued. But then watch this, guys. As we go into next week, once again, next week really just has my attention on it in terms of tornado potential. I really think an outbreak is definitely on the table going into next week across a lot of these areas in the plains and the Midwest. Granted, this is still, like I said, 9 to 10 days out. We're going to watch it. We're going to track it. We're going to see what happens. But as of right now, I think another all hazards outbreak is on the table going into next week. And then past that point, things get a little bit more uncertain. So another thing I'll show you guys here as well, looking at our dew points, this is how much grossness and dewy it is in the atmosphere is the best way I'll put it. You can already start to see the transport of moisture being pulled in. That will trend up pretty significantly here as we go through the next couple of days here. I expect the temperatures to increase, clearly with the dew points increasing. As that troughing sets up there, you can actually see the bulge in the dry slot of your trough moving in here as those dew points are getting pulled in. So it's pretty impressive to kind of watch how this all comes together on model runs. So just kind of a teaching moment there. But then we get into Wednesday, and it looks still be that Wednesday afternoon, we're going to have just a little area here of some decent dew points that could give us a little shot at some severe weather. Like I said, the Storm Prediction Center just upgraded the day 3 outlook to a slight risk. So we do have a little spot for some severe weather. And I mentioned we need to watch down. Okay, let me recircle this here because that's not what I wanted to do. We need to watch right down here into eastern Kansas, eastern Oklahoma, western Missouri, and western Arkansas on Wednesday for a conditional, very, very conditional all hazards event. There may be absolutely no storms. There's not a severe weather risk forecasted right now for these areas down in the deep southern plains on Wednesday currently. But that can change. If things do start to come together and we start to see trends, there definitely will be the possibility for an all hazards event in place on Wednesday afternoon. So that's for that. And then we go into Thursday setup. And like I said, dew points are not going to be a problem. Very, very decent amount of dew points along your cold front, your dry line setup here. This is going to be, like I said, that area around your triple point where I think that higher tornado risk is going to be confined to on Thursday evening and Thursday afternoon. And then going into Saturday, dew points will be there. Dew points will be there. Dew points will be there. And then we get into the next week's event. Gotta watch Monday. I really still think Monday next week too. Could be something decent. We'll have to see what happens with Monday with that little pre-frontal system that comes in. And then we go into Tuesday. I mean, it speaks itself, guys. 70s along a dry line. You're going to get severe weather. You've got a low level, or not a low level, a surface low set up here with an upper level low in the upper plains here. I mean, this is going to cause a pretty sharp dry line to set up. So I think going into next Monday, next Tuesday, and next Wednesday, we'll have a pretty significant severe weather setup. Still, like I said, about a week out. So we'll kind of keep you guys updated on that there. Nebraska, you guys, northern Nebraska is in a severe weather risk going into your Wednesday. I'll show risk zones here again in just a second. And then we get into Wednesday. And once again, Wednesday, guys, huge setup here. Dew points are just going to be disgusting. I mean, we're going to have dew points pushing the upper 70s here, mid to upper 70s across the Ohio Valley, the Architect, down into the Tennessee Valley. So if any storms can initiate in this environment, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good at all. Just saying. It's not like panic mode or anything, but it's a very, very favorable environment. And this goes into Thursday and into Friday and into Saturday. I mean, it's relentless. So let me see if the Euro is picking up on anything with this. Euro's actually got some pretty decent convection on Wednesday. So that would be Wednesday. That's where we're looking at on Wednesday. But notice, low there's no convection down here on Wednesday. There's nothing. And that's why there's not a risk zone present because, yes, you can have, parameters maxed out, but we're not seeing any convection down that area due to the low being so far to the north. There we go into Thursday. So you can kind of see like an arc of cells here developing, going down along a cold front boundary, going into Thursday's severe weather setup. This is why I mentioned Wisconsin, northern Illinois, Indiana, and western portions of Michigan, I think are going to be the higher spots for severe weather there on a Thursday. And then we go into the evening hours there. Could see a capping inversion potentially in the south. We'll have to see how that unfolds. And then going into Friday's severe weather setup, I think that front will transition. Looks like we're going to get, like I said, a damaging wind event maybe to set up here across the lower Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley on Friday evening. You can kind of see that front sweeps through Pennsylvania, the northeast pretty quickly as well, going into Friday afternoon. So we'll kind of see what progresses with that. And then Saturday, looks like there'll be some thunderstorms out there. Sunday, there'll be some storms. And then we get into next week. And I mean, this will be a very interesting low to watch. We gotta have to see how this unfolds next week. I'm not too set in stone on it yet, but we'll have to just kind of watch and see what happens. You can see the storms and all of that continue to initiate afterwards. So one more thing I'll look at, guys, and then I'll answer some questions here. Instability. Like I said, these instability values are going to be some of the highest values we've seen so far this year. This is going into Wednesday. You see a lot of instability here, but like I said, you can have all this instability and all of these higher tornado parameters, but unless convection initiates, it's not going to matter. I see people throw these models up all the time and say, oh, a big old outbreak coming, but there's no models that are simulating any storms developing, therefore it's not going to matter. So there is no risk zone down here in the southern plains for Wednesday. Yes, you have instability. Yes, you have some shear, but if things are not aligned perfectly, you're not going to see anything. Therefore, the SPC will not issue a risk zone. So our risk zone, in fact, on Wednesday afternoon is up here in this area, nowhere near those higher instability values. So that is why. Now going into Thursday, a little bit different of a story here. We're going to have pretty significant instability values on Thursday. This is just alarming, honestly. This is what I call a volatile atmospheric setup right here. If we get this significant severe weather setup to verify, I mean, we've got instability values from 5,000 to 2,500 joules per kilogram. So this is a very unstable environment. Back down here into the southeast, yes, you have instability. It's not going to matter. You're not going to see storms. It's going to be strictly for the Ohio Valley going into Thursday evening, and then we go into the overnight hours there, and that goes east. It continues east there. So we will have, I mean, a gross atmosphere in the Ohio Valley. We'll have it in Kentucky, Indiana, going into western Pennsylvania. I mean, this is around midnight to 3 o'clock in the morning, and then that goes east. We'll see overnight storms, and then we get to do it again all over again on Friday. We'll have more instability setting up again across the Ohio Valley on Friday, and then on Saturday, things start to get a little bit lower there. We start to see that risk zone set up for Sunday and Monday. You can see Oklahoma getting going there on Sunday and Monday, and then boom, that's our setup on Monday night right there. So we've got 5,000 joules per kilogram of instability in Oklahoma City, and you got a pretty decent little setup here. You can have all this instability, like I said, and not see storms. So just something, like I said, to keep mindful of. And then we get into Tuesday's setup, and this is where I want to watch is Tuesday. Tuesday would be my pick day next week. Pretty decent, like I said, dry line setup there. Pretty decent corridor of instability over across Oklahoma, Kansas. So if you're in Oklahoma and Kansas, don't count your tornado season over with yet, because it's not. And then we go into Thursday, and this is brutal. This is absolutely brutal. Yeah, this is not a great thing you want to see. 86 over 75, a little bit of a capping inversion, but nothing too crazy for next week with that, at least as of right now. So yeah, we've got a lot to watch, guys. It's going to be a very, very, very busy week. Chicago specifically, you're in a level 2 risk zone on Thursday. I don't have much details, guys. That's the biggest thing. We're still many days out from Thursday and Friday's event, so we should start to know more in terms of details going into tomorrow and tomorrow night when I get those short-range models in. I'll briefly walk over risk zones one more time, and then I'll answer some questions, and then I'm going to wrap stream up here because I don't want to stay on here all day today with you guys. I'll probably do another update later on tonight if I need to get on here. So today's risk zone, like I said, marginal risk today up into the northwestern North Dakota, Montana, seeing a marginal risk. Southeast today, you have a low-end risk for tornadoes, damaging wind and hail. The 2% tornado risk today is strictly for southwestern portions of North Carolina. We've got pretty much eastern Georgia here, eastern Florida. If you're not in that 2% shaded risk zone, your tornado risk is less than 2%, so nothing too concerning today. And we've not actually had any warnings today so far, so that's some good news. The wind threat for today as well, 5% in both regions, and a hail threat at 5%. We go to tomorrow, we don't have a risk zone. There's nothing for tomorrow. I think there probably will be something added to the East Coast. There's that trough ejects. We'll just kind of have to see what happens with that. So as of now, nothing for tomorrow. And then we get into the day 3 outlook, and this is where things start to get interesting. We will more than likely be in coverage mode for this event on Wednesday. So Wednesday looks to be the starting period of a very, very active next 7 to 10 days, guys. So get the next 2 days off and enjoy it off, because we're going to be streaming every single day going from Wednesday and beyond. So marginal and slight risk introduced here for Wednesday's outlook across North Dakota, South Dakota, and Nebraska, western Iowa, and western Minnesota. We've got a level 2 slight risk in the green, yellow there, and a marginal risk in the green. This basically just mentions all modes possible for severe weather. More than likely, damaging winds and hail are going to lead Wednesday's risk. Like I said, we'll just kind of see what happens. Currently, right now, not expecting any severe weather down into the central plains. It will stay in the northern plains. So, Connor, if you're in Ohio, if you're in western Ohio, that's going to be your best threat with that. So, yeah. And then we have people like that come in the stream. So, yep. Let me get rid of this person, guys. Hold on a second. For anybody that does not know, by the way, guys, I'm actually in school for meteorology. I'm not a meteorology or a weather wannabe. I've actually been doing this for 7 years now. So, yeah. Crazy stuff. That's crazy. You can ask about 8 other meteorologists that come into the streams that watch, that have mad respect for what I do. They'll say the same thing. So just saying on that. Anyways, you always got 1 or 2 salty people that come in stream. It happens. Golly. As of right now, there are no risks for tomorrow. Yes, currently, right now, day 2 outlook, no risk for tomorrow. That can change. We'll see what happens. So we'll kind of go from there. B Seals with the freaking galaxy. I appreciate you for coming in and supporting. Thank you as always, guys. Make sure you guys do follow my top gifters. Very much appreciated. Help the streams keep going. I appreciate it very, very, very much. So, B Seals, once again, thank you, bud, for all the love. I appreciate you for hopping in here. Yeah, like I said, guys, I can't not have a weather stream, and it happens. It is. People are just pricks sometimes, but I can't not have a weather stream or an update and somebody not come in and be like, oh, you're a weather wannabe. Okay. You're right, I am a wannabe. I'm actually in school for it. It's crazy. I've actually been doing this for quite some time. I've been doing this Actually, if we really want to calculate time here, I've been doing weather forecasting and weather content probably since I was about 13 years old. So, let me ask you some questions. If I always ask people this, if people want to come in, ask me some questions. Ask me if I know my stuff. Like, let's go. Ask me if I know any weather terminology. Like, the door is open. Like, please. That's what I always tell people. I'm just like, it's crazy. Like I said, I'm not a degreed meteorologist, guys. I'm still, a little far out from having that degree finished. I'm currently in the process of working through school to get my degree. But there's a lot of meteorologists that are in different states that actually come into my streams and watch. I have a lot of storm chasers that watch that actually respect what I do, even though I don't have a degree. Just saying, if you watch about, I don't know, how many videos do I have posted on TikTok? I can't even think right now. There's probably over 500 videos that I posted on TikTok. I do these forecasts literally every single day. So if you don't believe me, go back and watch them and watch the things validate. So, yes, Carla, what's up? What is up? I mean, yeah, there's also that too. You can ask the 92,000 people that follow me that also that know that what I do is legit. So, anyways, as I was saying, guys, day 2 outlook here, day 3 outlook for the Wednesday, and then we get to day 4 and day 5 here, and we've got a slight risk, like I said, for Wisconsin, Michigan, back down here in Ohio, Indiana. I mean, like I said, if you're in risk zones here for Thursday's event, just be mindful, have alerts on your phones, know where to go if you get a warning, know where weather radio is charged, go through the same thing. We've been hit so many times here in the Ohio Valley and the Midwest this year. It's not anything unnormal. So just, here we go again. We're going to be live covering this event from start to finish on Thursday. We got you guys covered as always. Like I said, as far as specific locations go, I don't have specific locations yet. Everybody should know where they live on a map. You guys can actually go to the stormpredictioncenter.com. This is their official website, and type in your zip code, and it'll tell you what risk zone you're in terms of where you're at with that. So I don't have time to go through everybody's today. I'll probably do a live stream with that tonight or tomorrow. But if you're in and around an area here, just be mindful of that. So, yeah, I think a higher risk zone, I think a level 3 enhanced risk will probably get an orange shaded area issued somewhere in this corridor going through tomorrow, I think. I think they'll upgrade this to an enhanced risk. The parameter space is definitely there. I'll actually show you guys some of the parameter spaces here. Let me go to the NAM. I think the newest NAM is done with the regional view here. Let's go through the NAM. I mean, the NAM's going to be the NAM, so we'll take it with a little bit of grain of salt. Yeah, we cover it all. We cover everything from start to finish pretty much. Unless we are in a risk zone, which we are on Thursday and Friday. If we don't get a tornado warning or anything that's crazy here, because we have littles, we have 2 kiddos, I will be on the whole time unless something crazy happens. Here's the NAM's instability for Thursday night or Thursday evening, Thursday night. I mean, this is impressive. This is not, a setup to not take for granted here for sure. Definitely be paying attention here. With a very, very good corridor of instability. You can kind of see where your warm front draped out over. I really think central Illinois and Indiana, at least as of right now, through the overnight hours, are going to be kind of the hot spot for where we see those higher parameter spacings at. Let's take a sounding here. Let's see what we've got. So, pretty decent amount of surface-based cape sitting at 4563. So, yeah, pretty very volatile surface-based cape. No capping inversion whatsoever in western Indiana. You've got a pretty decent amount of cape. Dew points are pretty decent. Your winds are beautifully backed all the way down through the surface here, and you have a pretty decent little nice photograph here that gives you a favorable tornado environment. So it's definitely there. I always ask for anybody that does not believe that I'm in meteorology, let me teach you how to read a photograph. It is quite complex. These charts are not for people that, don't know how to not explain this stuff. So, photograph charts are very complex. These are very hard to read. I try to break these down as much as I can for you guys, but some of y'all, like I said, it happens. It's a confusing thing. So, this basically just gives us an idea of our overall environment, that sets up for a certain area when you click on a sounding for that area. So, very, very important to the day of events. Do we have a storm out right now? All right, let's remove that person. Someone just hopped in my YouTube stream and said that there's an EF3 tornado heading to their house. That's actually crazy because there's no tornado warnings right now. But good try, bud. I bet that was the same person. I bet that was the same person that just came over from TikTok. That's crazy. Crazy. Hold on, guys. It's a little bit harder to get to fix something on over on the tube than it is on TikTok. Can I get a mod over on tube, guys? Is there somebody that can head over there and help me out over there? I've never really... Yeah, I might need some help over there just for a second. I fixed it, I think. If it still shows up over there, let me know. Yeah, there is a winter storm. There is a winter storm component up in Montana right now. I think that's crazy. Yeah, there is a winter storm component to it up there too. I think it's very low wind though. I was looking at the... Let me take a look at this again. Hold on a second. I guess it is Monday, guys. People do come out on Mondays. It's crazy. Yeah, there is a winter storm component. There's a little bit of snow up here into Montana. This is where those winter alerts are at. So I woke up this morning and I saw my alerts and I was like, wait a second, it's May. Why are we getting snow still? But nope, there's snow up there. Thank you, babe. I appreciate it. But anyways, yeah. I think that, let me go back to what we were looking at here for a second. Tornado parameters for Thursday. Yikes. That's not good. It's a pretty favorable environment for tornadoes to me is what it looks like, but it's also the NAM, so I'll have to wait for our short range models to get into range here. It's not a great sounding, but it's all right. It's really not the best, but your photograph's a little bit of iffy-wishy there. No capping inversion though, so that's Western Illinois. I really want to watch after 6 p.m. on Thursday. Let's take a sounding here. Oh, yikes. That's not good. Got a PDS sounding. That's actually a very favorable environment right there. 4,200 surface base cape. You've got just enough instability, just enough. Your dew points are pretty decent. 79 over 72 at 6 p.m. That is a violent tornado sounding right there, potentially. It's a very favorable environment for strong tornadoes. And that is out of, I believe, central Indiana. Yeah, that's just outside of Indianapolis at 6 p.m. on Thursday. It's a very unfavorable environment. So I do think a conditional strong tornado risk will be at play the further north you go with this mode. Very, very favorable. So just something we have to consider here. Not too worried about Kentucky right now. I think damaging wind threat will be more of a thing down here where we're at, babe. Yeah, definitely more damaging winds. There is a capping inversion. We do have a capping inversion here in Western Kentucky on Thursday, so that also might limit any convection potentially. It's conditional. So there is definitely a capping inversion there. I'll take that. Shit. Yeah, let's go up here to the northern mode here. I'll take a sounding out of Chicago, or at least briefly around. Remember, this is the NAM, so we'll start to do more of this going through tomorrow. This is a little bit iffy-wiffy. Iffy-wiffy. We'll just go, we'll go over here. Yeah. Your winds are kind of coming out of the same direction. Not really tornado potential-like, but I think that'll change once things get a little bit closer here. Yeah, surface winds. Yeah. It looks more damaging windy, but I think once the Vortmax sets up and we get our model runs to actually, consistently run, this will change. But yeah, definitely a favorable environment for tornadoes potentially in and around Chicago. Not specifically going to be not saying you're going to get a tornado in Chicago, but it will be a little bit favorable potentially. But I think that northern mode will be interesting to watch up here, and then we'll have to watch around the river or along the lake here. So lots of things to figure out, guys, over the next couple of days. We'll keep you guys updated on that. Let me see. Did our 12Z GFS match our Euro? I think it did. Yeah, everything's setting up for next week. too. So, and then we get past that point and things get a little bit more uncertain. But it looks like we're gonna have a northwesterly flowing jet stream over top of us for our vacation, so that'll promote cooler temperatures for our vacation trip, which will be fun. So. Do I have any questions, guys, that are not really location questions? I can't really answer location questions right now just because we're still a couple more days out, and I don't know the quite terministic details of areas yet. But does anybody have like any questions on general things? What's up, Carla? I'll give y'all just a few minutes here. I don't have anything that goes that far quite out yet for a sounding in Ohio yet. That's at least short range wise. Here's what I can do, actually. Let's do this. Is Roanoke, Virginia being hit? You guys have thunderstorms today and tomorrow, but not anything too crazy now. Tennessee is good until about Thursday, Friday. Friday you'll be in a risk zone. See, supercell composite on the GFS here is a little bit more bullish. So we can go Western Ohio. It's a pretty decent sounding. Your winds are still a little bit wonky because your winds go west easterly to southwesterly here. So you could get a tornado potential environment here in Western Ohio late Friday night into Thursday or into Saturday morning. But I think it's going to be more damaging winds than anything else. So North Carolina, you have a low end risk today for severe weather, but that's about it. Isolated tornado damaging wind and hail threat today. So once again, guys, this is the risk zone currently right now for Thursday. If you are in that yellow shaded area, you should know where you live on a map. You are in a chance for severe weather on Thursday. That is Thursday's risk zone as of now. Kentucky, all of Indiana, most of Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Western Ohio. That was Thursday. Yes, Millie. Yes. Yes. And tonight, this will update pretty significantly. We'll get a marginal risk that covers with this as well. So we'll do another update tomorrow. But yes, this is all up to date. This is all consistent here. So, like I said, Thursday will be a pretty significant event. And then we have Friday, this little mediocre slight risk down here into Friday will be interesting to watch as well. I think this is going to be mostly for damaging winds. Let me read here for a second. Yeah, they have capping. Capping is going to be interesting to watch with this. Yeah. So we'll see what happens over the next 2 days here as models get closer. But I do think capping it'll be a big issue on Thursday potentially, for at least for the southern portions of the Ohio Valley. So if you're in some risk zones, you may not see anything at all. It'll just be dependent on that. Timing for Friday is there's no timing yet. We're not there yet. We don't know timing yet on it. So. Tennessee, Western and Central Tennessee, you'll have a threat for an isolated, probably brief tornado, but more damaging winds and hail on Thursday and Friday in Tennessee than anything else. So that's where we'll see with that. But guys, I'm going to get ready to get off here. I might do another update later on tonight. If I don't, it'll be tomorrow. I want to start popping out more of these updates during the afternoon for you guys, because I know some people can't be up super late at night when I do my updates. But starting on Wednesday, we'll be kind of getting ready to go coverage mode on Wednesday and on Thursday and on Friday. Then we'll be getting ready for next week, guys. Don't forget, if you guys have not followed Connor's Climate Corner, make sure you guys give him a follow. He will be live and covering events weather-wise while me and Rochelle are gone on vacation from May 29th to June 2nd. You guys will not hear from me those 4 days. You will not see anything from me those 4 days. That is our one vacation trip out of the whole year that we are taking. We are going down to North Carolina to just get out of it, get out of everything. So it'll be my cousin's wedding. I'll also be spending my birthday weekend down there as well. So we will be away from everything. We need a break. We have been go. So that'll be super fun and super exciting. So yeah. Also, guys, if you have not checked out the Mezzo Mat merch. Y'all definitely need to go check that out. It is definitely online. We've got a week left of, I think a week and a half left of the Jenny Purr merch. It's a limited edition Jenny Purr sticker and Jenny Purr shirt. If you guys have not checked the merch out, make sure y'all go check it out. Lots of really, really cool stuff in here. It's very, very cheap. It's not expensive. That's how we wanted to have it. That way you guys are able to get that stuff. Make sure y'all go check this stuff out. It's really freaking cool. Rochelle has worked her butt off on making this stuff and getting this stuff set up here. So the Jenny Purr t-shirt, that is my lovely cat Jenny Purr. This shirt and the sticker will only be in the shop for about another week and a half. We'll probably give it, we're going to give it, what, 17 more days. Actually, yeah, we can have 17 more days, and then it's going to be gone. So actually two and a half more weeks, sorry. 2.5 more weeks. So that'll be gone once we go on vacation. But other than that, make sure y'all check out everything else on here. Some really, really, really cool stuff. So that, and we'll be adding stuff down the road as well. So, that'll be pretty cool. So, other than that, guys, I will holler at y'all later on. Be safe, guys. Be weather aware, and I'll see you guys in the next one.